Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to talk about what happened to the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars and how they went from 3-13 to the AFC Championship game. We're also going to talk about the state of the team and where they are now in 2020. Guys, make sure to like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. It helps out my channel a lot. Over their history, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been known as a losing team, as their all-time record currently sits at 176 wins to 224 losses. They have made the playoffs just 7 times in their 26-year history. However, in the 6 years leading up to the 2017 season, they had a combined record of 22 wins and 74 losses. So they were known as one of the most consistently worst teams in the entire NFL. It had been 10 years since their last playoff appearance, but this leads us into the 2016 season, where in the last 2 games, assistant coach Doug Marrone took over as the interim head coach for the Jaguars. He led them to a 1-1 record to end this season, where they finished with a terrible 3-13 record. However, Marrone had previous coaching experience with the Bills, and they hired him as the full-time coach after the season. Now, to start the 2017 season, they drafted Leonard Fournette, number 4th overall out of LSU. Some had him pegged as the next great all-time running back, so there was a lot of excitement around the pick. They also signed star defensive end Calais Campbell to help anchor their defense. They also had young quarterback Blake Bortles, who was coming off his 2016 season, where he passed for 3,905 yards and 23 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. And of course, they also had superstar cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Now, this is the year where they coined the term Sacksonville. As you're going to see, the defense was great. Optimism was high as they were going to be focusing on defense first and making that the way they wanted to win games. So this leads us into week 1 of the 2017 season, where the Jacksonville Jaguars played at Houston. They won the game 29-7 as the defense held rookie quarterback Deshaun Watson and the Texans to just 7 points in a game that was never close. Rookie Leonard Fournette also put up 100 yards rushing and a touchdown in his first NFL game. The team was excited as they dominated their first game, and again, it was a division game against the Texans. In week 2, they had another division game, this time against the Tennessee Titans. However, the defense was manhandled as they gave up 37 points in a 37-16 loss at home. The score was 30-3 going into the 4th quarter, and it just seemed that it would be another terrible losing season for the Jaguars. So going into week 3, not a lot of people knew what to expect out of them. They traveled to London to play at Wembley Stadium to face the Baltimore Ravens in one of the NFL's international games. In this game, the defense was back in full swing as they carried the team and shut down quarterback Joe Flacco and the Ravens. Flacco had just 28 yards passing and 2 interceptions. The Jaguars won the game 44-7, and even Blake Bortles passed for 4 touchdowns. Something you're going to notice with this team, and in particular Blake Bortles, is that they are the definition of up and down play and playing bipolar. One week they are amazing, and the next week they're mediocre. In week 4, they lost to the New York Jets 23-20 in overtime, as Bortles was held to just 45% passing completion and just 140 yards. This leaves them with a 2-2 record as the Jags went to Pittsburgh, where yet again they turned it back on as they held Ben Roethlisberger to just 9 points and had 5 interceptions against him. The defense again was dominant, and rookie running back Leonard Fournette rushed for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns in a statement game for the Jags. Now, after this, they played the Los Angeles Rams, and even though they held the Rams to just 249 yards, they lost again 27-17 as the offense couldn't cash in on drives. So here we go. They're 3-3, and it looked like Jacksonville was just a mediocre team, and they would be more of an 8-8 team versus a 10-6, 11-5 team. However, the following week, they went to Indianapolis and destroyed the Colts 27-0. So yet again, the defense carried them, and Bortles even threw for 333 yards and a touchdown. Now at 4-3, the Jaguars would win their next 3 games with the defense limiting teams to just 10 points per game. Heading into week 12, the Jaguars were 7-3, but they lost to the Arizona Cardinals 27-24 on the road, as the defense allowed quarterback Blaine Gabbert to throw for 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. So again, even though their defense had so many amazing games, they have their moments like this where they allow a quarterback like Blaine Gabbert to light it up. So at 7-4, the Jaguars had a great chance to make the playoffs, but many around the league still thought they would be Jacksonville and would find a way to lose, as no one really had a lot of confidence in them. But over the next 3 weeks, they averaged 35 points per game while holding teams to just 13 points per game. They increased their record to 10-4 with a huge victory over the Seattle Seahawks, where they intercepted Russell Wilson 3 times. They were starting to look like one of the better teams in the league, but they lost at San Francisco in week 16, 44-33, where despite outgaining the 49ers 472 yards to 369 yards, they lost. Blake Bortles threw for 382 yards, which was impressive, but he also had 3 big interceptions in that game. The following week, they had already claimed the division and the number 3 seed, but Tennessee could still get in the playoffs with a win. So in week 17, the Jaguars played the Titans. However, they lost 15-10, where Bortles again looked terrible while only completing 44% of his passes with 2 interceptions. They finished the regular season with a 10-6 record, as their defense finished second in the league, giving up just 16.8 points per game. Their offense finished 5th in the league, averaging 26.1 points per game. Many experts said the Jaguars' defense was historically good, as they led the league in forced fumbles, completion percentage, passer rating, and they had 7 defensive touchdowns. They also had 55 sacks and 21 interceptions. And despite his up and down season, quarterback Blake Bortles finished with 3,687 yards and 21 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Rookie running back Leonard Fournette had 1,040 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns, along with 300 yards receiving. So the team seemingly had all the firepower they needed for a playoff run. They had a decent quarterback, good rookie running back, and their defense was great most of the time. So this all leads us into the wild card round, where the Jaguars started the playoffs at home against the 6th seeded Buffalo Bills. Now this game was a terrible offensive game to watch, as Bortles threw for just 87 yards with 1 touchdown, and Leonard Fournette was held to just 57 yards on the ground. The Jaguars scored just 10 points, so they probably lost, right? Well, the defense absolutely shut down the Bills and Tyrod Taylor, as the Bills were held to just 263 yards with 2 turnovers. Yet again, the defense carried the Jaguars in an ugly game. The following week, the Jaguars traveled to Pittsburgh, where they would have a rematch with the Steelers that they beat pretty handily early in the season. Now, the Jaguars dominated the first half, as they went up in the game 21-0, and they led 28-14 at halftime. Now, Pittsburgh did make it interesting in the second half, as it was 42-35 Jacksonville with 2 minutes left, but the Jaguars drove down the field, hit a field goal for a 10-point lead, and they held on to win 45-42 in an offensive shootout. Rookie Leonard Fournette rushed for 109 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Bortles didn't throw any interceptions. However, the defense was crushed, allowing Roethlisberger 469 yards and 5 touchdowns. So as I was saying earlier, guys, this team is one of the most bipolar teams performance-wise that I've ever watched before. So heading into the AFC Championship game at New England and Tom Brady, no one knew whether or not the offense and defense could both show up in the same game. Throughout the season, the offense carried some games and the defense carried most games, but it didn't seem like very often they were both on point. This leads us into the game where the Jaguars got off to a great start, as midway through the second quarter, Leonard Fournette rushed for a 4-yard touchdown and the Jags were up 14-3 on the road. However, a late touchdown drive in the half by New England made it 14-10 at halftime. So here we go. This was Jacksonville's 3rd AFC Championship game in franchise history, but this is their best chance to make it to their first Super Bowl. They start the second half shutting down New England again, and they added 2 more field goals, making the game 20-10. Jacksonville with 14 minutes left in the 4th quarter. But then, as we all know, Tom Brady does what he has always done, and he led the Patriots on a 3-minute touchdown drive, making it 20-17. The Jaguars had 2 more drives but did nothing with them, as the Patriots got the ball back and had a 2-minute scoring drive with a touchdown, making it 24-20 New England. But the Jags still had over 2 minutes left in the game to make a comeback. However, the drive ended with an incomplete pass on 4th down, ending the Jacksonville season. Now going back, many people blame Blake Bortles, the play calling for the loss. However, I think it was a great game and both teams played really well and they had almost identical total yards. Jacksonville's defense, however, they couldn't stop Brady at the end of the game, and even though Bortles didn't have any turnovers and put up decent numbers, he still didn't make a difference when it mattered most in the fourth quarter and he couldn't step up. You can go a lot of different directions in explaining how they lost, but at the end of the day, Brady did it again and Bortles and the offense couldn't capitalize in the second half. But hey, they went from 3-13 to the brink of a Super Bowl. So they had an amazing season and it was crazy to watch. But as many of you already know, after this season, it turned into a disaster. The following 2 seasons, the Jacksonville Jaguars finished with 11 wins and 21 losses. During this time, the Jaguars traded or released quarterback Blake Bortles, defensive end Calais Campbell, cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and most surprising of all, running back Leonard Fournette, who's just in his 4th year. He's somebody I might do a video on all by himself, as it was interesting and shocking. There are only remnants of the 2017 roster left, but as the organization goes forward, they look completely aimless and directionless. Some people are saying that they're just trying to tank to get the number 1 pick in the draft, but I don't know, guys. It's crazy to think that they went from 3-13 to almost a Super Bowl to, again, probably being a terrible team. Guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave me a like, comment down below to let me know what you think happened yourself. I'm interested in seeing what you think the reasons were that led them to that great season and what has led them to the point they're at now. Guys, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up with all my videos, and as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one.